Today I will be presenting about the Russian artist Wassily Kandinsky. Kandinsky was born in Moscow, Russia on December 4th, 1866. He had well-educated parents, and when he was a toddler they moved to Odessa, Russia, which was a thriving cosmopolitan city with a variety of different ethnic groups. From an early age, he exhibited extraordinary sensitivity towards stimuli of sounds, words, and colors, so his father greatly encouraged this, and he enrolled him in private drawing classes and private piano and cello lessons. He decided to leave the arts and go to the University of Moscow in 1886, and he studied law, ethnography, and economics. He completed his degree in 1892, and from there he started teaching law at the university by lecturing law classes. Despite his successes at teaching, he abandoned his teaching law and went to Munich art school called Anton Asby in Munich in 1896. He met co-conspirators at this school such as Alexei Jolinsky, who introduced him to the artistic avant-garde in Munich. In 1901, along with three other artists, Kandinsky co-founded Phalanx, which is an artists' association opposed to the conservative views of the traditional art institutions. Phalanx then grew to become an art school, which was where Kandinsky taught. He met a student in his class, Gabriel Munter, who became his companion for the next 15 years. They traveled Europe and Northern Africa from 1903 to 1909. It was during this time that Kandinsky familiarized himself with the Expressionist movement and developed his own style based on all of the diverse sources that he saw in this environment. From then, he married his young wife, Nina Abrovskaya, in Moscow in 1916. They moved to Germany to teach art at Bauhaus in 1921. It was then that the Nazis closed the school in 1933, so they moved to France for the rest of their lives, and he passed in France in December of 1944. Now we move on to his artistic endeavors. Kandinsky was greatly influenced by Moscow and his experiences there, and he created over 200 works of art. His two main styles were Expressionism and abstract art. Expressionism is the practice of depicting the emotions and responses that objects and events have on an artist. Abstract art is different styles and techniques to express the attitudes and emotions. Abstract art is also known as non-representational art. So there are no objects or events in these types of paintings, which is a lot of what Kandinsky did. And they have lines, color, textures, and shapes that make up the majority of the work. Kandinsky's theory was that the artist was a spiritual being that communicated through the lines, colors, textures, and compositions of the painting. Kandinsky's main goal was to produce human emotions and ideas through abstract forms and colors. So his colors that he used expressed emotions and not appearances like most representational paintings did then. He also portrayed music through his pieces, which I found very interesting, through this non-objective art to use colors and shapes that alluded and made that were supposed to look like the sounds that came from music and the emotions that you get from the music. So next is a quote from Wassily Kandinsky quotes by Kandinsky himself, and it states, "Of all the arts, abstract painting is the most difficult. It demands that you know how to draw well, that you have a heightened sensitivity for composition and for colors, and that you be a true poet. This last is essential." And I find this very true because I know that abstract painting is one of the most hard paintings to read and understand just because there isn't a main object or event in the painting. And I also find that how he adds to be a true poet is not something that you essentially hear when painting, so it shows that he likes to portray music and other aspects into his paintings. These are some of his other works that I wanted to show you to portray what kind of artist he is. And these paintings he painted from 1898 all the way up in 1944 to his death, and these are from Wiki Art. So these top three are from his early years, 1998 to 1907, and the top left you can see is called Forest Edge, which was painted in 1903. The middle top is named Rapallo from Rapallo Grode, which was painted in 1905. This top right section was called Park of St. Cloud, which was painted in 1906. The middle left is called Crinolines, made in 1909. The middle painting is called A Mountain and was painted in 1909. And this is the Angel of the Last Judgment, painted in 1911. Now the bottom left painting is Transverse Line, painted in 1923. The middle is Orange Violet, painted in 1935. And this far right painting over here is Several Circles, 1926. And as you can probably tell, these top three are from his earlier years, from 1898 to 1907, and you can see they pick objects such as the trees and boats in the water and other trees and landscape. And as you can see, the middle three are produced from 1907 and forward, and you can see that they have much more color, vibrant colors, and they're less defined in the paintings with those brush strokes. And as you can see, the bottom three, these were made from 1910 to 1915 and further. And you can see that these have more abstract shapes and geometrical shapes with the squares and lines. And as you can see, that this looks almost like completely different artists in all three. And I find that how he progresses as an artist is quite interesting. Next is another quote by Wassily Kandinsky himself from Wassily Kandinsky Quotes, and he says, "Color is the key, the eye is the hammer, the soul is the piano with its many chords, the artist is the hand that, by touching this or that key, sets the soul vibrating automatically." So you can see that he emphasizes color, which he does in a lot of his paintings, and he also mentions again the keys and souls, mentioning music, which he did in a lot of his works as well. So now we go into the main three paintings that I chose. The first one is The Blue Rider. This was painted in 1903, and that's an oil on canvas painting. And this is one of his most important paintings of his early works in the early 1900s. As you can see, there's a cloaked rider. Here's a close-up of the rider on a galloping horse, galloping through a rocky terrain in a valley. And you can see how he used mostly darker colors, darker greens and blues, but also the complementary orange. In this painting, he demonstrates a link to the Impressionist by using contrasts of light and dark colors and or sunspots, as you can see the shading from the horse itself in a darker blue. So he uses mostly darker greens and blues in this painting, with complementary orange in the trees and the white horse. And as you can see in the painting, it's lighter in the center of the painting, emphasizing the rider and its horse and where they are going, and it's darker on the outside of the painting and the horizon. You can also see in this painting, as close up, the brush strokes are not defined, and which makes it a softer painting, which he used in some of his earlier styles of paintings. The next main piece of art by Kandinsky I chose was Black Lines, which was painted in 1913. As you can see, his painting is his painting style is starting to become more abstract. This is another oil on canvas painting, and it's one of his first non-objective works. You can see there's different forms and different hues and different size shapes, and there are black lines and marks that are curved, smeared, and speckled all over the painting as well. And some of the hues you can see are in circular forms, as so, and then some of the forms are in streaks or lines across the painting. In this painting, he uses the concept of abstract art, using the shapes and lines and colors, and while emphasizing dimension and depth using these concepts. And this painting is used to portray emotion and the human idea that Kandinsky had of the subconscious. The third main piece of artwork I chose by Kandinsky was Yellow, Red, Blue, which was painted in 1925. And this was another one of his famous paintings, and it was oil on canvas as well. As you can see, he uses many more geometrical shapes in this paintings and elements. He uses squares, circles, triangles, curved and straight lines, and many different colors. And the shapes are different sizes, and the lines can cut through the shapes as well. Something you might not notice at first in this painting is that it can almost be divided in half, to left and right side down the center of the painting. So the left side has more normal shapes, as you can see this large yellow rectangle, the circles, and the straighter lines. And it also has brighter colors with the yellow and the red and the blues. And over here on the right side, you can see that he has more abstract shapes, with the curved lines and the checkered boxes and the triangles combined with the lines divided. And also uses curved lines that has darker colors on this side with the blacks, darker reds, and darker blues on this side. And this is the two sides, and the piece itself is meant to show a variety of human emotions. The lines going through the shapes are thought to encourage deep thought by the viewer and the readers themselves of this painting. And so from here on out, from about 1925 and further, he begins to increase his use of the geometrical shapes and elements and lines that he uses in this painting. So Kandinsky had many contributions to the art world. He inspired abstract expressionists, and he was known as the father of abstract art because of this, with his use of disjointed figures and geometrical shapes, with a relationship of color, and all of this used together to express emotions. He stressed distance from the objective world and focused on spiritual and emotional forms through complex patterns and brilliant colors that you could see that he used throughout his works. And all of these greatly influenced Expressionism. So, in the 1980s, neo-expressionists applied his ideas in regarding the artist's inner expression and explaining their emotions on their pieces of work. His work also set the stage for much of the expressive modern art that was produced in the 20th century and on. I personally think that his contributions are quite important to the art world because it leads the way for abstract art and the use of geometrical elements used in artwork and paintings. And as you can see by his contributions, that they were a major piece in the art world today. And these are my works cited pages. I have this. Thank you.